our toes play a very important role in how we maintain balance and achieve power at push-off. My name is Dr. Emily, CEO and founder of Naboso, and I'm going to show you 4 different exercises to strengthen your toe flexors, also known as toe flexor strength. That first exercise I show you is going to be called forward lean. We're then going to progress into short foot, and then we will eventually do a foot wedge based exercise. First one is going to be ankle dorsiflexed or in a neutral position, and then that final exercise is going to progress into the push-off position, ankle plantar flexed using the wedges. That first exercise is going to be a forward lean. So what I'm going to have you do is start by standing up nice and tall with your feet shoulder width apart. And we always want to start this exercise by setting our base. So I'm going to have you lift your toes, find your foot tripod. So underneath your first metatarsal head, fifth metatarsal head heel, spread those toes nice and wide, place them back down on the floor. And if you notice a little bit of collapsing of your arch, I'm going to have you slightly externally rotate into your hips, which is going to lift those arches. Now, if you're still having a hard time lifting those arches, then I definitely encourage you to look at the Naboso Foot Wedges that can be placed underneath the inside of your heel. That would be specifically our 10-degree wedge, and we have many videos on that. That would keep that foot in a neutral position during this exercise. Now, as you stand here with a nice, strong, stable base, I want your arms by your side. Imagine that you are stiff as a board, standing nice and tall. And you're going to stay stiff as a board, and you're going to lean your body forward. And then come back into a vertical position. Stay as you are. I'm going to show you from the side. So we're standing nice and tall, setting our base, stiff as a board. Lean the body forward ever so slightly, and then bring it back to a vertical position. Again, lean forward, and then bring it back vertical. Do one more time, lean forward, and bring it back vertical. Now, every time you leaned your body forward, you should have noticed that your toes were anchoring or grounding into the floor. That activation of your toes is a postural reflex from the forward lean. That's essentially what your toe flexors do, is they pull your toes down into the ground for balance, power, stabilization. So with this forward lean, it is an awesome way to wake up those toe flexors, that foot activation, without cueing anything in relation to the foot. So I would start by doing nice and easy 5 to 8 repetitions of a forward lean, exhaling every time you come forward, and then you would essentially progress to the second exercise, which is short foot. Now, for short foot, you are essentially doing the exact same thing as the forward lean with that stable base, but this time, can you push your toes down into the ground without leaning your body forward? Hold the toes down for 5 seconds, then release your feet. Again, push the toes down, hold for 5 seconds, and then release your feet. Now, to progress that, what you want to do is start to coordinate your breath with your toes pushing down. The exhalation of your breath is going to be in coordination with your toes pushing down. So we would start with an inhale into the belly, and then you would start to exhale, and you're going to exhale for 5 to 8 seconds, pushing those toes down into the ground the entire time you are exhaling, and then release, relax your toes, inhale into the belly. And again, exhale, push the toes into the floor, keep exhaling for 8 seconds, and then good, release the toes, inhale into the belly. And we would repeat that for 5 rounds. Your third exercise is going to be using the foot wedges. So this is a foot wedge by Naboso. This is actually a 25-degree foot wedge. Now, why we are going to utilize this is that research has shown that when you extend your toes up 25 degrees, you actually get increased activation of your feet or of your flexors. This exercise could be done seated or standing. I'm going to first demonstrate it seated, but you will always have higher activation when you are standing. So you're going to grab the Naboso wedge, the 25 degree. I'm going to show you from an angle, and then you're going to put your toes up onto that wedge. I'm nice and stable on that foot tripod still, just my toes are lifted. And then having nice good posture, I'm going to now push my toes into the wedge, similar to how I pushed them down into the ground. I'm going to hold here, push into the wedge for 5 seconds, and then release the wedge. Again, push into the wedge, hold for 5 seconds, and then good, release. Of course, standing, we will be in that same alignment. I'm here, I'm always very aware of the rest of my posture. Nice, easy stack. Back leg, I'm just gonna kickstand a little bit. I could have it down if I want, but I'm going to be in this position here, and then I'm gonna push my toes into the wedge. Of course, when we're exhaling, exhale for 5 seconds, and then good, release. Inhale, relax the foot, push the toes into the wedge, hold while you're exhaling, and then release. Inhale. I would do 5 rounds of that, holding for 5 seconds, exhaling the entire time. Your fourth and final exercise is going to be very much transferable to how we walk. And what that is that every time we walk and we take a step, we get into this position called a rigid lever. As our foot goes into what's called a plantar flexed position of the ankle, you can see that our toes start to extend. Now, what allows us to create power when we take a step is not just that we're going into this ankle plantar flexion, but it is the pushing down of the toes as we take a step this way. It's a very important part of foot stabilization and foot power. So what we're going to do for this, I'm going to turn my wedge so that I'm here, and I'm going to show you from this side so that you can see it. And I'm putting my right foot on the wedge, so my toes are extended. Now this is ultimately going to be my push-off leg. I'm gonna do it in slow motion. So I'm gonna take a step with my left foot, and as I do that, you can see that my right ankle is plantar flexing. And as it plantar flexes, I'm gonna push into the wedge with my toes, and then I come back. So I'm here, I'm essentially going, and then I'm coming back. So every time I do it, I know it's hard to see what my toes are doing, but every time I step forward like this, my toes are driving into the wedge, and it's essentially mimicking where we need stabilization when we jump, when we accelerate, when we do something in that power position. So I start here, toes down, and then I bring it back. Toes down, and then I bring it back. And then bring it back. Toes down, and then I bring it back, okay? So it's seemingly a simple exercise, but it's very much focused around the breath and the toes. The wedge is designed to always be helping and assisting the activation of the digits. I very much recommend getting the foot wedges so that you can get the most out of how you train your feet. As you could see, I was recommending very low repetitions for each of these exercises. You got 4 exercises, make it easy, do 5 repetitions per exercise per foot. I would do 5 repetitions, first exercise, proceed to the next exercise. Awesome way to prepare those feet before you train, or a great way to incorporate into any health foot program. To learn more about awesome foot exercises or to learn more about the foot wedges, please head to naboso.com.